the ability, first of all, to validate that the solution is the right solution for the need, and then to do the first pilot and to move to commercialization. That's a huge advantage for the startups, and
Of course,
that shortens the cycle from few years to maybe a year to full commercialization.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Let's talk about mobility and automotives. Meet Avi Feldman, founder and managing partner of Mobilion Ventures. Avi has broad experience and a proven track record in building innovative startups from the bottom up, as well as leading venture capital investments. Before founding Mobilion Ventures, Avi served as the CEO of Capital Nature, an early-stage investment company that focuses on green energy and smart mobility, and led the fund's notable investments of millions of dollars in leading startups. Avi founded the Regional Development Center at the Israeli Ministry of Industry, Trade and Labor, and served as its first director. Prior to that, he was Senior Deputy Legal Advisor for the ministry. Avi Feldman has an LL.M from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and an EMPA from Syracuse University in New York. Avi Feldman, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. You're today with Mobilion Ventures. You've been dealing with mobility, but also renewable energy for quite some time with Capital Nature, but also previously in the ministry, within the ministry of in Israel. You were coming from a legal background, yet it sounds, just objectively looking at your trajectory, that you grew to have this deeper and deeper conviction of where you really want to have the impact and what you really want to be doing, leveraging on your previous experiences. So what I would love to start with, Avi, is tell me a little bit about your journey and how you reach to decide that you want to spend the majority of your time dealing both with investments, in companies, but then specifically in mobility and green energy.
I think that most of the things that we're going to touch upon are things that emerged together just in recent years. As a child, I would say, a child of nature. I grew up in a small village, always up in the open, outside, and nature is something that I care about. Back from home, both traveling and the whole family history is around nature preservance. My father is part of the Israeli Association for the nature and so on. So I come with deep environmental engagement. Mm-hmm. That's on one side, and the other side is the geek part. Mm-hmm. I studied in high school. I studied computer science and excel with it. I really was into it as a child, following that, being in the army in a very exclusive technological unit. So all the time around those two pillars, but only lately they converge together to
right.
To be an active part of my professional life. Right. And I think that the first major part was in the Ministry of Economy. I was Deputy Director General in the ministry, responsible for the development of the periphery, so regional economic development. And when I came to that role, I was looking for something that the periphery would have a built-in advantage in, and clean tech is obviously one of a leading sector that peripheral areas have advantage in promoting,
So,
such
and
as
why
the
is that?
Negev. And
I'd like to delay on this point for a second.
you have
Why is it obvious that the peripheries have an advantage in clean tech energy systems?
so first of all, you have rural areas that you can develop a lot of large scale projects, either wind, solar, agri, everything that's connected to the environment. You're able to do there. Also, most of the research infrastructures with regard to the environment are usually in these kind of places. For example, in Elat, you find the inter-university school for marine biology.
Right.
You'll find those things only in the periphery. So I used cleantech back then in the Ministry of Economy as
To uplift the peripheries, like socioeconomic status.
Right. And from that point, the interest just grew. Later
Wow.
on, leaving the governmental side for the private sector,
Right.
but doing the same, just looking for the ventures themselves, the startups, the entrepreneurs that are able to do so and to demonstrate that new technologies can and will bring change to the climate, the environment.
And what brings you to converge on mobility? After spending several years with Capital Nature, you're looking at a variety, right, of renewable energy, companies, and but most recently now you're converging specifically on the mobility sector.
Sure. So I think that what's interesting, I'm talking about, energy and green energy on one side, mobility on the other side, and actually the nexus of the two of them is very powerful. The two sectors are undergoing tremendous change. I would say that disruption in the last few years, each on its own, based on different trends in each of them, and policies also with regard to the governmental aid. But the nexus of both of them. So for one hand, on the energy side, you have the ability to generate new energy that is not based on fossil fuels. And on the other side, you're able to transform that energy into mobility, and take the whole transportation sector into a totally new, different propulsion and way of dealing with energy and preserving energy, and so this nexus is very powerful. It combines the two in a very specific way. I'll give you, two great examples from
Please.
my former portfolio. So the first company is Electrion. I don't know if you know them, but this is a startup that started in Capital Nature some 7-8 years ago. They developed the electric roads. So how to transfer electricity from the road to the vehicle. Another startup is Chakratech, doing through flywheel converging energy from the grid to the vehicle in very short time. So hypercharging vehicles. Those are examples for new technologies that few years ago were unreachable or not part of our mix of technologies that we were able to use, and that's that's something that I'm passionate about.
And what is your involvement sort of with these companies as you're meeting quite a few entrepreneurs, you're working with a lot of different companies in the mobility and renewable space. What is your engagement with them as they're going to prove these new ways of producing mobility and energy?
So going now to Mobilion, which is my new VC. We are working with our entrepreneurs hand in hand on a daily and weekly basis. So it's really hands-on approach, but giving them, the full scale of. We're not intervening in the day-to-day, more in the strategic decision making, and moreover, we are trying to provide them with access to channels that are not open to them today. And this is, I think, that the basic attribute that a VC, a good VC, can bring to its portfolio startups are good connections, good channels to market, good channels to partnership. You have to bring value, and that's basically the way to generate value for your portfolio companies.
Right. Now, what do what can you share from your experience working with entrepreneurs specifically in the clean tech, green energy, mobility space? That their journey might be a little bit different, more or less challenging, and in what ways than that of traditional entrepreneurs that aren't in this space. So what is unique to those working in the specific space that you're in, that you've learned that really is something else that is not trivial for other people to really understand?
I think that the two sectors that I'm involved in, and basically the transportation, mobility, automotive, it's very dominant. That most of the companies out there are, multi-billion-dollar companies,
right?
Dominating their markets. It's not saying that they don't have competition, but those are, super giants.
Yes.
And working with startups is something that is very challenging for them to do so. The sizes and the cultures are so different. A regular entrepreneur thinks, well, I have a great solution. I'll knock on the door. They'll immediately understand that what I have to offer is so unique and so surprising, and they'll embrace me in a minute. And it doesn't work that way. And in the automotive industry, it takes years upon years to really create that engagement and to provide that. And I think that, in Mobilion, we have a very different approach, where we try to bring startups to the mobility industry through the aftermarket. So,
what does that mean?
You think of so I'll explain. Usually, when you look at automotive mobility, you're going for the big names that are the OEMs.
Right.
So I can name them one by one. The German manufacturers, and the US based one, and the Japanese and Koreans, and so on. Everybody knows the names.
Sure.
But to work with them, it would take you 5, 7, maybe 8 years until you'll see your technology embedded upon a new vehicle, integrated the whole way. What we offer them is something completely different. We are saying, look, that's great, but let's take a parallel venue. And this venue goes to the aftermarket. So selling directly to the end user. It could be fleet managers. It could be the private owner. So B2B and B2C together. Sure. And we are doing that through a sector. It's a subsector within the automotive industry that is called the aftermarket. And many channels that are out there and are part of our ecosystem. We've partnered with the major player in the automotive, in the global automotive aftermarket, which is Nexus Automotive International. They are the biggest trading group within that sector, accounting for more than 30 billion euros per year of sales.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's huge. Having distributors all over, so in more than 140 countries. So that's a huge power. The ability to knock on every door in the industry, either the manufacturing side or the distribution side. That's a huge advantage.
Incredible.
So think that any of our startups, I'm able to take them either to the manufacturing side or to a potential geographical distributor that controls a certain region, and to validate, first of all, if the technology is right for certain uses.
Very
I'll
cool.
give you an example. One of our portfolio companies, Clickins, they do automated damage detection.
Yep.
We took them to one of the biggest US-based companies. They are doing hundreds of thousands of car detections on an annual basis. So close to 1 million detections per year.
Incredible.
The ability, first of all, to validate that the solution is the right solution for the need, and then to do the first pilot and to move to commercialization. That's a huge advantage for the startups, and
Of course,
that shortens the cycle from few years to maybe a year to full commercialization.
Right, and that's obviously with the power of having a strong VC backing you that is not just not just putting capital, but also has that added value of being domain specific, having those partnerships in place, having gained that trust that a young startup would take years to gain that trust. Right, I guess that's the big value add here.
First of all, it's open the door, then to create the connection and the engagement between the two,
right,
and then the ability to bridge again between the young startup with all the enthusiastic but lacking of the ability to understand what's the other side need and what the timeline to do so and how to build that over time. That is the real value that we can bring. So I think that the major lesson I took from my previous years, both in the Ministry of Economy and afterwards in Capital Nature, and I brought it to Mobilion as part of our basic model, is always look for ways to cooperate with the giants.
Right.
You have to create some kind of platform that they will find themselves interested in being engaged, looking for what you can offer them, and building that to scale. So, one of our LPs is Mitsubishi Corp, the mother company of Mitsubishi Motors and Isuzu.
Yep.
And when we negotiated with them, being part of the fund and so on. They told me, look, we know how to handle a startup that has, let's say, $10 million of sales,
Right.
and you need to scale it. But we don't know how to touch a startup that doesn't have any sales or only limited the initial sales. We need you to be there to help us bridge that gap.
Beautiful. I love it. And I think that that really exemplifies the work that you do. And you already answered one of the questions that I enjoy asking earlier on when you talked about, your connection to nature, but also your connection to STEM. But what really inspires you today in the work that you're doing? You're choosing to remain on the investment side, on the connector side. What really inspires you in your day to day?
I think that the nexus between investments and the environment. So mitigating the climate change challenges,
right,
through new technologies that can really solve not only needs of the industry but also needs of social needs and environmental needs. I think that when we are able to do so, to find technologies that are both answers the economical need and the environmental need, I think it's a match that gives you extra interest in doing the investment, in promoting that startup. So double and triple bottom lines are highly welcome, and we are in search for those, because being just the bank, it's not enough. Doing good investment, that's not good enough. We need something else. We need to prove that we're doing good by doing good investments.
I love it. And what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
So I think that first and foremost is entrepreneurial spirit. I think that I consider myself to be one before coming to look for others and to invest in them. I think that what I've done in the past, either on the governmental side, where much of it was entrepreneurial, Capital Nature, now Mobilion.
Right.
Those are our first evers. So I've created something from scratch. I love it. I love the challenge in it. So that would be number one. I think that also the ability to see a complete picture, and not just the items themselves and the challenges in each of them, but seeing the whole picture and understanding the whole picture. I think it's something that I love to zoom out.
Yep.
And I think that by that, many of the day-to-day challenges are you're able to overlook them and find first. So it's how to architect the right building blocks. So start with the zoom out, and then as you go to higher resolution on the way, you solve the right challenges in the right order.
And the third word?
And the third, I think that I hope that it was also you could feel it in that interview. I'm passionate about what
100%.
I do, what we do in Mobilion. I think that you should be passionate about what you do, the way you do it, and if you're able to do so, you're able also to attract others.
I love it.
And so I'll go for those 3.
Avi, thank you very, very much. This was wonderful. Continue doing great work, great investments in the mobility space and the renewable energy space. I love the connection all the way from the childhood to the STEM to legal to working in the public sector, but then private sector. Thank you for all the amazing work, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you for having me, and I hope that all our listeners enjoy the
I have
podcast.
no doubt. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.